Howdy, Brad. Thanks for
Hello.
showing
Hi,
up.
other Brad. Hello, everybody. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you for having me.
We got Brad squared, or is it square Brads? I don't know.
I prefer gluten-free Brad sandwich.
I love it. Brad and I have known each other for a long time. Entrepreneur, really smart guy, and I know he and I think your business partner. What's your business partner's name?
Which
John?
one? Which business?
Oh, I don't know. Shit. The one we're talking about today.
JJ, John.
Yeah, I think it's John.
Yep.
Either way, I've been watching what you've been doing. You've talked about some of the AI based automations that you've built. Specifically, I think it's around social media, right?
Yep.
And Brad is not just like this Brad. He is not an AI engineer, programmer, software expert. Another entrepreneur, great at marketing, amazing at masterminds, etc. And it looks from what I'd only seen a sneak peek of what you're doing, so I invited him on to showcase the kind of stuff he's built using AI and automation, which was great because we talked about automation like Zapier. I think you guys use Make for a lot of yours to solve a big problem. And although I've seen the tip of the iceberg, I am just a little less ignorant than everybody else. So, Brad, I really want you to walk us through
Sure.
the problem you're solving or you've solved and how you're doing it and how you've used the combination of AI and automation to do this.
Sounds great. First and foremost, hi, I'm Brad Hart. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm coming in from Phoenix, Arizona. Let me know where you're coming in from down in the chat. I'd also like to get a sense of where people are at as far as their relationship with AI, whether it's like something that they feel like they need to learn or they're going to get left behind or something they're really excited about. So if you can give me a sense of like your actual physical, emotional state right now with AI, okay, I feel like I'm going to be left behind if I don't learn this, or I'm actually really genuinely excited about learning this and I'm excited for the
I'll
future.
jump in. I'll interject for
Yeah.
you guys can put this in the chat if you want. But I think I mentioned this before. Like this is not like a webinar of people who are interested. This is the AI accelerator. So
These are like, we're in the weeds, we're doing this, we're building this, we're excited about it.
yeah,
Okay,
everybody here
great.
has made a
I love that.
significant investment of time and money and
I love
energy.
that.
Some
Awesome.
folks have been with us for months, like 6 months or so. Some
Love
folks
that.
have just recently joined. So depending upon the expertise in AI may be varied, but the interest and the commitment to it is 100%.
Actively seeking solutions. I love it. Okay, great. I'll just get a little bit of my background. I'm from New York. I grew up there. I didn't have a lot of friends growing up, so I started building mastermind groups in my 20s. And 14 years later, $1 million later, I've written 2 books on the subject. I've been a part of 100 plus masterminds. I speak at masterminds all over the world, all different countries, 25 countries, 43 states. And I'm really grateful to be in masterminds like Flight Club with Brad, and we get to see each other very often. I just want to speak to the gratitude I have for the depth of our friendship, where he's, hey, you're doing something cool. Let me put you in front of your whole group. And I don't really even know what it is, but I know it's going to be cool. So I appreciate and I'm grateful for that trust.
Yeah.
I'm a 5-time founder, 2 exits. I've got all the whatever, hedge funds, real estate. I can talk about all that shit. But my latest obsession, and I think maybe I'm like some of you, is like as an entrepreneur, you might have this switch in your brain where it's either completely uninterested in something or maniacally obsessed with something. And maniacally obsessed is the current switch mode.
Yep.
So we got really deep down the rabbit hole. And I have a saying, I'll share my screen and start to dig into some stuff here. Um, that I don't need to know everything if I know everybody. So even though I did learn to code when I was super young, even though I didn't keep up with it, I made a point to continue to be fascinated with everything to do with AI, automation, robotics. It's just since I was a little kid, beating my dad at chess, building robots with him in the garage, learning how to code games on BASIC, and then just not having the money to keep up with it. So 10 years went by, we just didn't have more money for computers and stuff. I never got unobsessed with it. And now finally, I feel like I have superpowers because now I can code in English. I can use tools like Cursor. I can work with people in low code and no code apps to actually build the future. I'll just frame my thinking around this is like most people are taught and trained to think in just in case learning. So we're all going to school, we're all learning math, we're all learning science, we're all learning history, just in case we come across that problem in the world. And what I'd like to urge you to think about and how I think about this is I want to have just in time learning. I want to learn exactly what I need so that I can solve the problem in front of me. And I have to ask myself a question. Is that a problem that I'm going to see once or maybe once in 5 years? Or is this a problem that I'm going to see every day and that I can solve for myself in my business and then solve for other small business owners? Because one of my missions is to give small and medium business owners superpowers that allow them to punch at the same weight class as Fortune 500 companies and governments, ultimately make a bigger impact and level the playing field for them. I'll skip the preamble and jump into what that actually looks like, but to give you a sense of the level of geekery, here's the workflow that my team built to solve a very specific problem. And don't worry, you never have to touch this or look at this again. I just want to show you the level of the sophistication here. Every single one of these is a little AI or Airtable or Google Doc or Notion board or something that informs a process, right? Which
And
all
you're
everybody.
showing, just to interject here, one of the screenshots you're showing, this is inside the make automation though,
Correct.
right?
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
make.com. You could use N8N. There's a bunch of low code, no code apps. And
Yep.
basically, what that means is you're not relying on custom code to build whatever solution. That comes with benefits and drawbacks, mostly benefits in the sense of like you're no longer accumulating a lot of tech debt and you're no longer building yourself potentially into a corner and then the market shifts away from you. So speed is really at a premium when it comes to a startup. You want to make sure that you can keep up with what's happening in the marketplace. And with all these AI apps exploding and new capabilities coming online every single day, I like to joke with people, if you don't like AI today, wait till tomorrow. When you start building, you want to make sure you can pivot quickly if something changes. And when you're dealing with social media, which, there's 20 different social medias that we can post on, we want to make sure we are very nimble. So anytime a new cool thing comes out, a new cool capability comes out, we can actually swap the API in and change on the very next iteration. This is version 10. I think we're in like version 15 now, and it's just getting better and better. And what this is essentially a solution to a problem. And social media, I believe, for small business owners, if you put 100 of them in the room and ask them to raise their hands, where's your bottleneck? They're going to say leads, higher quality, more consistent, better leads, better lead flow. And we wanted to solve that problem. And the biggest way to solve that problem is through social media. But you have to be a freaking superhero to be consistent enough and disciplined enough and intelligent enough and emotionally regulated enough to actually manage your own social media. And that's for one account, right? To get like a really great result, I'm making like 50K a month with high ticket offers on my Facebook account. I can't do that across 15 accounts. I can't be everywhere all at once. And if you ask the average business owner, they're going to be posting between 5 and 15 times a month on maybe 1 to 2 platforms. But there's 15, 20 platforms. And it's this giant social media slot machine that you could pull the handle every single day if you wish, but you either have to try to do it yourself or build a team or not get the benefit of that, not get in front of those billions of active daily users. So what we decided to do is a little bit different. We just said, all right, listen, you already have a ton of content. You already have your offer figured out. You've probably already sold it through social media. You're all business owners, right? You got some of the pieces. What you don't have is the leverage of the team. You're not going to spend like $100,000 a month to get a team to go do it like a Hermosi or a Dan Martell. We're going to do that for you. We're going to take your avatar, your voice, your video, all of the different backgrounds, and you can have it be informal or formal. You can dress up or not. You can do your hair or not. And we can create all these avatars of you and essentially create you on every single platform, every single day. So should you wish, so that you can have a conversation ongoing with your audience every single day and get the benefit of being on social media without all the drawbacks of being on social media. And you literally never have to lift a finger again. So there's no software to learn. There's no agency that's going to waste your time and money and you have to teach them how to do your business. No, we're going to do it better, faster, and cheaper than you could do it and get you a better result and more qualified, interested leads that come into your business so that you can sell them your high ticket offers.
And I want to circle back. So yeah, you've created the automation. It's an AI enabled automation, and then turn this into a managed service, not a software that people have to do on their own. It's a managed service.
Correct. Yeah,
Cool.
and that's my general thought if I zoom out on the marketplace. I don't think in 5 years that anybody's going to want to learn software. I don't
Yep.
think that anybody's going to want to hire an agency. What they're going to want to do is pay for a result.
Yep.
And if you can come to me and say, "Hey, Brad, I want a result," and you give me your logins and your data, and I go get you that result, you're going to keep paying me forever.
Yep.
So I think that's the new model. I think that's where we need to build towards.
Okay.
And if you can remove all the friction, just think of all the brain damage, the 15 pages of homework and all the meetings and all the nonsense, and just get the result that you pay for, you're going to be thrilled.
Yep.
So that's what I'm
Yeah,
building
that's
towards.
a great model. I like it.
Yeah. So I'll just give you an example of what this
The
looks like.
Oslo framework offers sales, leads, and operations is a step-by-step guide for prioritizing what to work on in your business, ensuring maximum efficiency and growth.
Let me tell you about something about this video. I sent this to my mom and I said, "Hey, mom, you gave birth to me. Is this me?" And she said, "Yeah, of course it's you." I said, "It's not. It's actually 100% AI." So this is the level of quality as of a month ago when I made this test video.
Yep.
In a year, nobody will be able to tell. If my mom can't tell, nobody's gonna be able to tell.
Are you
I mean,
using
if
HeyGen's
you're
model for
really
that?
sharp, yeah, this is a mix of ChatGPT for the script based on my content,
Yep.
but it came up with its own script. It's 11 labs for my voice, where we
Yep.
use the pro model to train it, and then it's HeyGen is the
Perfect.
we're working with all these different providers and APIs to stay up on all their cool stuff. And anybody here could create this. Is not outside your wheelhouse. If you just want to sit down and do it, I recommend you do. There's actually some pretty cool stuff happening. They're doing interactive avatars, which I've been starting to play around with, so you can actually have a chat with a person
I
that
just
is
heard about this. I haven't started to
yeah,
play.
I just loaded it up right before to see if I could do a quick demo just to give people a sense of what's allowed. It's not that good yet, but it's in
Yeah.
beta. Results may mix. And one thing I noticed is there's a box around my face where it's trying to talk like me. And I
Oh
probably shouldn't
yeah.
put a microphone in front of me, but you get the idea. So like I
Yeah.
can actually have a connected experience with an app and learn something from this
Yeah.
person, and it's actually going to talk back to me.
It's great.
So let's see what it's
That
like.
sounds great.
Isn't this cool? I'm doing a
I didn't
demo right
catch
now
that.
to show some of my friends about HeyGen's new features. Can you just say something just to illustrate?
Absolutely. I'm here to help you practice. What would you like to focus on? We can chat about anything like hobbies, travel, or even learning tips.
So that's pretty cool. It's no intelligence behind it yet. I haven't trained it on BradBot, although I certainly could. But I think this is a really cool thing that's happening, and I want to be a part of it. So that's where my heart is. It's like everybody keeps talking about AI as I'm going to go in my basement and build all these bots and build this billion-dollar company that's going to take over the world, and I'm going to do it all myself. And I'm like, that sounds lonely, boring, and shitty. I want to do that with all my friends. So
Exactly.
come on, man. Let's go build cool stuff together and start shifting the paradigm from scarcity economics to abundance economics. Because what happens when AI takes care of everything? There's 3 times as many robots as humans, and assuming we don't get the Terminator scenario, but like what happens in that world where nobody needs to worry about food, utility, shelter, education, electrons are free, and everything is provided for?
Bingo.
And they're like, I want to create that world. So this is my way of chipping away at it. Just giving you guys a sense of what we're doing and a way to think about AI, because I think that's the most important part. So just to recap a couple of these ideas, just in time learning versus just in case learning,
Yep.
building results as a service as opposed to SaaS or an agency or some outdated model. I think that's where we're going. I think if you're not implementing AI, and you guys get this already in 2025, by 2030, you're going to have a real hard time having a business because this is
Yep.
going to be the norm and table stakes. And then start to think about mass customization and mass personalization versus just mass messaging or mass product. It's like, how can we really deliver a product, a service, a managed service, whatever you want to call it? How do we deliver that at scale? With new superpowers, where it used to be like, oh, we had to create the same widget for everybody or the same service offering for everybody. How do we create that level of customization for everybody?
Yep.
And I've got
Okay.
15 ideas behind this, but this is the social media one.
I love that. Can you go back to the screenshot of the
Where did it
automation?
go? Here we are.
Yeah, so walk us through some of the concepts of
Mhm.
what's happening here. Like once more, this will be over some people's head if they're not used to automation, especially make. But as you mentioned, like every single one of these little things here, so maybe this is, I'm guessing this is like a trigger, and then things come in, and every single one of these little nodes is another, it's either another program or a process. Like you can see, it's
Yeah.
moving into
So
different.
I'll tell you what I know. I don't pretend to be the 100% I know every single thing expert,
Yep.
but I know what I know. So this is an example of a webhook. This is an incoming webhook. So essentially, if you were to put in some sort of input, this is what starts the machine going. And I look at this as like a content conveyor belt. So it's not just one process that you run one time. It's actually managed agents that are working with each other. So imagine you had a team of people that were creating content for you, but each one had a specific job and a specific task. And then there were kind of controllers or managers that could then rate, review those tasks, kick them back to the other agent if it wasn't good or didn't meet the standard or so on and so forth.
Mhm.
Instead of you fighting with like the gentleman that was talking before me, like fighting with GPT back and forth to get the specific outcome and it's not getting the outcome. It's okay, how can I create a process that takes care of that? So the end result is actually really great. It's a
Yep.
really great video that I'm ready to publish. And that's an iterative process, right? So it's like the webhook kicks it off. These different Airtables inform what the content is. It also spits back out onto an Airtable once it's done so that we can link it to our VAs who post manually. You're talking about LinkedIn automations. A lot of these platforms will shut you down if you use automation. So you have to be
Yep.
more crafty than that. You have to think about how can you actually make that a managed service so that you can post and not get people banned or shadow banned or show up as a bot network or anything like that. So that's one of the key features. Every one of these green bubbles here is GPT. And here's what's really fun. I think it was Michelle or Melissa, I forget her name exactly, was talking about how her son was coding with Cursor. You can also
Melanie,
code
maybe I
with
think, yeah.
words. Yeah, you can also code with words. Like your Google document to GPT, it doesn't need you to speak in code. You can just tell it what's going on in a Google document, what you need, and make your prompts really great. And then it'll go and get the outcome and it'll use code or whatever it needs to do to get that outcome. But the second you change that Google Doc, you actually change the instructions. So I don't have to change this entire process and workflow to get a new outcome. All I have to do is go into a Google Doc, which any business owner can do, and be like, oh, I don't like this output. I'm going to change this prompt. And then it literally changes on the next run. And we can
Yeah,
have
because
these
all
running.
the follow-up actions are triggered by what's in that.
Correct. So every one of these little blue bubbles here, these light blue kind of Google Doc bubbles, I can code those myself as a business owner and I only need to build this one time. Nobody ever needs to play around under the hood here. So that's nice. So yeah, this is just a lot more GPTs going back and forth, and there'll be error messages if it gets stuck. There'll be things that go on. And every single one of these is basically just a different outcome that we can get. And like I said, this is version 10. We're probably closer to version 15. Things are changing and updating. The video workflow is a really fun thing to work out, but it's like we're literally creating something that would take $100,000 a month team of really smart, important people doing this kind of task. We can do 35 pieces of high quality content better than what I could put out in about 5 minutes.
And
And then
it's a
I could run those
combination,
in
it sounds like, of is it a combination of both like video content, text content?
Yep. Every
Um,
platform, every format, native to that platform, text, audio, video, every single day, should you so wish. Content's
so
no longer
let's
the
talk
bottleneck.
about the customer's experience from the input side. When somebody, okay, let's say me, let's say I'm a client, and I go, all
Mhm.
right, I want to sign up. Walk me through what is required of the client to do, and then what happens with like your team and the software. And
Yep.
then,
I'll just give some background so far. We launched this only 8 weeks ago. We've
yep,
onboarded some clients. We're at almost a 10K run rate right now. So we're just
perfect.
cranking along and getting that going. I had 50 conversations and like 40 of them wanted it. So I was like, okay, I got to shift
Oh,
down.
you solved a big problem here, so that's good.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly. Everybody wants this, and that's great. I'm very excited about that, but it just got overwhelming, and people getting mad at me because I went from 2 weeks booked out of my calendar to 9 weeks booked out of my calendar. Like all of
I'm
a
glad
sudden,
we I'm glad we got on your calendar when I hit you up like a week ago.
dude,
So
yeah, for friends, absolutely. I'm 100%. And to serve an audience, like I want to help you folks. Anyway, long story short, I hired a sales manager, and that's where we're at. To talk about onboarding, I have a really great client who's also a social media manager, and she has
yep.
her own social media company. So the distinction I had to make personally from like a leadership level was I love masterminds. I love deep relationships, like the one I have with you, Brad, and some folks here that I've met before. That's capped, right? I can only do that with so many people. Maybe I cap at 100 or 200. I don't know, but there's some number of people where that's capped. And if I have a mastermind, that kind of caps also my impact and income. I
Mhm.
could talk to those people and help them, and then they help other people that I wouldn't meet. But my direct impact is limited. So I was like, how do I solve this conundrum? I need really high EQ, relationship driven people who can manage those relationships for me. And I can have 10 of those, 20 of those, 100 of those managing those relationships. So we can keep the quality high, but give a great experience. But then also on the other side, I'm like, the only communication I really want to have with my clients after they're onboarded is high fives and congratulations. I literally do not want them to be friction in the punch bowl. So the way we do onboarding is very specific. It's, hey, what is your vision here? What are your outcomes? What are your goals? Then, okay, great. What are your logins? Let's get your logins. What data do you already have? If you log into my Facebook account, I've been posting quite a bit since I was a sophomore in college. I'm almost 40. So there's 8,200 just written posts in my Facebook account ready to go. And then you could run it through a RAG database. You can parse out anything that's not evergreen, anything that, is no longer shares my values because we evolve over time. And I can get a pretty good sense of who the heck I am and what I'm all about and how I write and all my style and all that good stuff. And that's just Facebook. You can do that across all these platforms, right? So we grab all that data. We grab any client facing data. So we want words from their own words, right? We want to hear from their own words exactly what challenges they're having, what mindset stuff, what beliefs they have, what's going on for them. And we want that as unfiltered and raw as possible. Because the second you filter it through the solution provider and the business owner, they're going to change it, right? So
Yep.
we get that from sales calls, we get that from client delivery calls, mastermind calls, hot seats, all that great stuff. And then we build you. So I'll just show what that looks like. So if we go back here, pardon me, now we go over to here. Thank you for bearing with me. We build a comprehensive brand guide. So this
Yep.
is essentially a training document for AI, similar to the ones I showed you in the workflow, where we have your definition, narrative, mission, vision, values, belief, brands, statements, mantras, all that great stuff.
Yep.
It's all the
It's
stuff
all
that you
about
would say.
you.
Yep. And this is kind of like the arrow. So if the thing I showed you before is the bow, right? This would be the arrow. And then the target would be another one of these documents. We call it the ideal customer persona, right?
Yep.
So this, in addition to the voice prints, the clone of your voice, the video prints and all your avatars, anything interactive, anything along those lines, like this creates the bow, the arrow, and the target that we're looking to hit, which is all the people that would be a perfect fit for your product or service. And we expand it out to include all the demographics you probably never thought of, all the psychographics, all the audience metrics, and all this great stuff. And this is a 78-page document, but it could be longer or shorter depending on how complex that particular offer is. So how we do it is really that, but you don't need to get in the weeds on any of this. You just need to give us what you already have, give us all of it, and we just go through and parse all of that. And it's, a RAG database, for people who aren't initiated, is just a it's just a really fancy way for AI to go and start tagging, meta tagging everything so they can parse it and pull it later. So if there's that old saying, that old story about stone soup. The guy shows up into a new town, he's hungry, he gets a pot of water, he puts a stone in, and everybody starts cooking and everybody's like, what's going on? Oh, I'm making soup. Oh, great. I have some carrots. Oh, great. I have some celery. I have some chicken. I have some beef. I have some whatever. And pretty soon you have everybody adding a little bit to it. You take the stone out and everybody has soup to share. So it's kind of like that, where anybody who's a client can go and just interact with a Google Drive, upload any of their thoughts, any of their visions, any of their personal philosophies, any of their stories. Like, we don't want to make up you, any of your lifestyle stuff. We could put that all into the soup and it comes out on the other end as content that's really refined.
Beautiful. And then so you guys know that because of this, like you do the onboarding, you start to understand who the client is, what their offers are, who their ICP is, and then you start to build out the content that is proven, like using the proven social media marketing frameworks
Pretty much,
to,
yeah.
to create, to create the kind of
That was
content.
actually the easy part. We've been doing social media for 15 years and we have
Yeah,
a whole ton
exactly.
of examples of 40 different types of posts we could post. The company's called Repurposefully. We do
Love it.
not yet have a website. Like I said, I'm going in order. I'm only having conversations and
Yeah, I mean, you just launched this relatively recently, right?
yeah, yeah.
And
But
you're kind of
we'll have that.
MVP
We'll
in it,
get there. I have a
proving it
goal.
out.
Like every time I launch something new, if I can't make 100K in 100 days, I abandon it. And that's not
Yeah.
because it's like I'm trying to be precious
Yeah.
or anything. It's just like I have a lot of ideas. And if I can't reach the people with the right target and like my hypothesis proves correct and I can make conversions early on, like I'm going to move to something I can have an impact on.
Yep.
So that's kind of my rule for myself. So this is getting there. We're spinning up a new company because I was doing it under a holdco. We're getting more BAs and we're starting to prepare for scale. I just built a deck, which by the way, if you guys aren't using Gamma.app, I was able to build a
That's
deck
nice.
in 10 minutes. It's awesome. So yeah, this is where we're at and it's really exciting. Yeah, if there's no pitch here, right? If you want to talk about it, reach out to me. But
What
the
is it? I'll just ask right now because I don't even know. What is your pricing model for this
yeah,
right
so the
now? The
pricing,
different packages.
typically what we do is most of our work is actually front loaded, right? So there's a little bit of an onboarding fee. For Optimus members, which is my mastermind, we deliver it at cost.
Cool.
For people just coming in, we do an onboarding fee and then 3K a month for the managed service.
Okay.
And then for people who are friends and like just coming in and they're cool and they're easy to work with and they get that this is a startup and that constructive feedback is welcome and you're never going to be harder on us than we're going to be on ourselves, like all those things. We're relationship focused. We can waive that onboarding fee and it's just 3K a month. So that's putting you on every single social every single day. Where does this make sense? Okay, so if I have a high ticket offer and it's selling and I'm using social media to sell it, and I'm willing to spend some money on ads. Maybe I was going to think about $100 a day ads budget. That's a really good time to think about this because this will put you on every single platform so that you have a really cool base case to test out content in the native platform so that when you go to run ads, you know exactly what's working and it's going to have a synergistic effect to help the lift on your ads as well. So it's a good just baseline consistency that really helps you. Yeah, that's our thought behind it. And ultimately, I think anything above that investment, that 3K a month that you end up getting is going to be just crazy upside. It might be millions. I don't know. I just don't have enough data to tell you yet. Although I do know our one client who was doing well on TikTok, we moved stuff over to Instagram and YouTube. We 5x'd her reach on both platforms in 1 month just by being consistent. It's not magic. As
Oh,
long
that's
as it's
great.
good, and it's consistent, people are going to start to gravitate toward you and the algorithm's going to reward that. So we're essentially creating something that most people can't do on their own at a scale that most people can't even touch. We're talking about
Yeah, for three thousand
five to
dollars to
10
have a
posts to 3,000, 300 posts a month.
yeah, for $3,000 to have, in essence, it's like having a full-blown social media team, and but even better because a lot of times if you have a social media team, you still have to maybe show up and batch content creation and do all that other stuff. Like
Approvals,
yeah,
edit.
like usually the most efficient way I've seen is somebody takes 1 day a month and then they just batch create a long form piece of content and then the team goes in and then they take that one, maybe it's like an hour long video or they're just shooting in. That's a pain in the ass.
It's a
But
job and it's
yeah, it's a
expensive to
job.
have a team do it. And then you got people to worry about. This will
Yeah, and it
do a
doesn't mean you can't still do
24/7.
that.
Yeah, this will do a 24/7. You never got to touch it. You never got to think about it. And nobody's ever going to get upset. Nobody's ever going to quit. Nobody's ever going to get drunk or hungover. There's no OSHA complaints, no sexual harassment lawsuits. It's just
Yeah, exactly. And then
it's
so the
so much easier, you know?
yeah, and then so does it. I guess this probably depends on the platform. Some of them post multiple times a day. Some of them will post like maybe once a day or a week or whatever. Is there a frequency to this or?
Yeah, we're doing any post you want to, I'm sorry, any platform you want to be on. So you could
Uh-huh.
do 10, 15, 20, it doesn't matter. As long as we can do it on desktop, it can't be mobile only. And there's only a few that are like Blue Sky and who cares, right?
Yeah.
So it's okay. So there's that. And then where do you want to be? Like, let's test everything. It doesn't cost us any more to test everything. That's not the bottleneck.
Yeah.
It's just a little more VA time. So we don't mind testing everywhere. And then when we really get traction somewhere, we'll just decide what we want to do from there.
Yeah. Then sometimes double down on one or
Yeah,
something
because we
else.
could do comment moderation in the future. We could do ads in the future for you. Like we're going to keep building. and creating more stuff. We've just got a really cool base case now we're going to build on and continue to get after it.
Okay, cool. So the platforms, obviously, the big social platforms, X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok,
100%.
YouTube. What about LinkedIn? Are there any other platforms? Do you guys do, let's say, anything with newsletters? Do you do anything
Yeah,
with
we're
like
trying to stay away from
blog
email
posts?
because that's where it's getting dicey with people like that didn't double opt in, and there's a lot of sharks
Totally.
swimming around the water trying to sue people for, oh, I didn't give you permission to text me, etc. We don't want to get in that. And
No, I
so,
don't even mean that. Do you like if somebody has a newsletter
yeah,
and
hey,
actually
we'll
create the
take a crack
content,
at it. If you have some specific little niche thing that you want to do, like we'll take a crack at it, but we're trying
but
not
it's
to get
mainly
in the
focused
weeds.
on the social platforms for getting the content out
Correct.
there.
Yeah. That's the problem we're solving. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, dude, really unique. I'll open this up for some questions here if anybody has any, unless you had any other cool
Yeah,
features.
no, I'll just share that this is one of many tools we're building. We have a sales bot
Yeah,
for Zoom that's going to integrate, which is cool. We have like it coaches you as you go through a sales call. For example, like I'm having this conversation with a prospect and it's listening and transcribing, and I have a ticker on the bottom of the screen. And as I go through this conversation, it's going to say, "Oh, you forgot to ask about this. Ask this
great.
discovery question," or "Hey,
Have you
just trying
seen,
to, yeah, overcome
so
this
this,
objection," so to speak.
as you're building that out, that this is something to look, have you seen what attention.com is doing?
No, and I am purposefully talk about repurposefully, a little play on
Blinders.
words. I am trying to put blinders on and just focus on my winning my race
Cool.
and not focusing so much. A, because I believe in collaboration over competition, and
Yeah.
B, because as great as social media is, it's a comparison machine. And
Yeah.
it's really easy to get into a rabbit hole and squirrel out. I wish them all the blessings and success, and I'm going to continue to run my own race.
No, I love it. And I would just mention that because that's something I haven't used, but I've saw because what you just mentioned is also a really cool solution for salespeople. It's like that real time coaching on something like so if somebody says a what do you call it a like an objection, it's listening and it's pulling up, hey, say this. It's like giving you real time
That's it.
uh,
That's
feedback.
essentially what we're aiming at. And I think the market for that is unlimited.
Oh,
The
it's
TAM
huge.
for social media is enormous. The TAM for that's enormous. And here's the crazy thing, gang, is Wiz, I believe it was called. It was like a managed cloud solution for
Okay,
Google. Google just bought them for 27x revenue.
damn.
Revenue. 27
It's
times
extra
revenue.
revenue. Yeah.
Like a SaaS company getting 10x is crazy.
Yep.
These AI solutions are going insane. Like it's the last hurrah before we go shift out of this late stage capitalism scarcity paradigm
Yeah.
to abundance economics, whatever that's called, right? It's some new
Absolutely.
ism. So
Uh,
there's going to be stupid money flying at these companies. I just say get after it.
You just want to get in front of it. I don't blame you. Amanda Bucksbaum asks in the chat, did you say the front-loaded onboarding fee could be waived or discounted? And what is there a minimum number of months that
Yep.
you require?
So no contracts, you're not locked in. We do just ask that you take it seriously and give us at least 90 days to dial it in because it takes time to build a new social platform. If you
Yeah.
already have traction and an audience, it'll obviously get better faster. But if you're just starting from scratch, like you can't have magical thinking around it. You have to realize, hey, social media is not it's not a magic wand, but it is, we can win it if we're consistent. And that's what we're providing.
Dude, that's fantastic. Any other questions for Brad here? Aaron Warkoff, you have your hand raised if you want to unmute.
I just put my contact up. There's my Facebook if you want to
Oh, perfect.
message, and also my email if anybody's interested.
Perfect. Make sure you grab that, Lauren, and put that in the show notes.
Cool. Hey, other Brad, how are you doing?
Hi, good to see you.
Good to see you too. So I always think, all right, I get into a platform like Make, and that's definitely sounds like something that's not a rabbit hole, but definitely layers and layers and layers.
Oh, it's a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
Big time.
have you made Makes to just automate requests of Make to be able to introduce an idea and have it prove out something, or at least try to get it to have checks and balances and prove out a new idea that you have, maybe roughly. But it sounds like Make is great because it automates tasks, but itself, you're probably running into walls as you're doing it, or questions that come up constantly about if this, then what. So have you figured out a way to streamline that through maybe even some automated tasks?
Yeah, I love specifics. If you have a specific example, we can go there. But just generally, I think the answer to your question is you can train GPT to help you with almost anything that it has a knowledge base on. And Make automations are everywhere on the internet, like a lot of things are. So there's a lot to draw from. The way I like to do it is if I get, first off, I want to make sure I'm solving a problem that needs to be solved consistently and repeatedly, right? If it's just one thing I'm going to see once or twice or 5 years, it's like whatever, right? But if it's like a workflow I'm trying to get a result with and I'm trying to build a Make automation, I hit a wall, you literally take a screenshot and put it into ChatGPT with the whole workflow and the outcome and kind of explain what you're trying to do, and it'll reason its way to help you get past that bottleneck. So that's really helpful. That's just out of the box. If you were to build a custom GPT or a pickaxe that has more training data as you get smarter about it, and maybe you have a coach or somebody who's really talented at building these automations, and you can find little groups and people who do communities around this stuff too, that's also really helpful. Because so far I've had more luck with humans than GPT, but that doesn't mean that GPT isn't getting better and better every day. And it does solve a lot of problems for me. And it's the first place I go to solve a particular issue, whether it's a soft skills issue or a hard skills issue. And it's becoming very good at that. So yeah, I would play around with the idea of just anytime you hit a wall, screenshot, ask it, and just have it be your coach. And then having a human rollover, pull glass in case of emergency person that you can just hire to help you solve it real quick.
This is actually, oh wait, we have a couple more questions. Jason Giles. Was it Giles or Giles?
Giles, soft G, like giraffe. Brad, that's that's awesome.
Thanks, Jason.
I'm in.
Okay, great.
Let's
I love
go.
it. Yeah, reach
Yeah,
out. Let's get a call on the books. I'll get you connected with the team. We'll get you onboarded. It'll be really fun to have you.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, as long as you guys are okay with a little startup brain damage, then let's play. Let's have fun.
I've already got the brain damage, so might as well start something up.
Yeah. Was there another hand raise, or you? I want to demonstrate something. So I built this a while back as a pure little demo, and this is going to be a very simple demo because I was trying to show somebody how things like Zapier or Make, in this case I use Zapier, can automate like a social post with content creation. So what I'm going to show you is probably like 1%, if that, of what Brad Hart's thing will do. So I'm going to share my screen here. First of all, somebody give me a quote about business, about life, about something. Give me a quote. Say it out loud or drop it in the chat.
I don't
First,
need
you
to know
make your
everything.
habits, then your habits make you.
Perfect. Oop, shared the wrong screen. Damn it. All right, share this one. Tell me if you see it. You guys see the screen? Yeah, okay. First, you make your habits, then your habits make you. And I'm just going to call this life. All right, cool. So all I did, this is Airtable. You could do this in a Google Sheet or whatever. That's all I did. Like sometimes I come across like interesting little quotes. I'm like, oh, maybe I would want to write an article about that. So in this case, what I did is I went into Zapier and I said, I call this social media demo. So this is the trigger. When there is a new record created in this Airtable, so I've connected all these tools. When there's a new record, I want you to open up ChatGPT. Okay. Now, inside ChatGPT, I have a little prompt that says, act like an expert writer and use the following text. And right here, it's pulling the text that it got from this, because this is always watching anytime a brand new quote is pulled in. And I won't read this whole thing, but I'll read part of it. And it says, I want you to write a 500-word mini essay, 1 sentence per paragraph. Use this content as the core inspiration for an expanded version of the post. Start it with a compelling hook, create a short story, and I just give the framework for how I want this post to go. Then make the main point, then provide a clear takeaway, etc., etc. Then, once it does that, ChatGPT sends it to the next node and it says, find the record, find this record again, and then update that record with the output from this. Does that make sense to everybody? When I put something in here, run a prompt on it, find the record, and put it back into my database. Look at, I just clicked over here. It's already done it. So first your habits make you, then you make your habits, then your habits make you. Starts off, there once was a man who swore he could leap a mountain if he only had the habit of climbing hills daily. Unfortunately, his daily ritual involved navigating his couch rather than the terrain. Take, for instance, Matt, an old college buddy of mine who confidently said he was not a morning person, as if it was a genetic ailment that he couldn't be cured. It went on to talk about all this stuff. Like it actually created a potentially compelling post, which I can come in here and I can edit. But if I approve it and I click yes, I have an automation inside here, which let's just see if this works. I'm going to go to my Facebook fan page. This is not my profile. Brad Costanzo Official, if anybody wants to follow. Shameless plug. Look at this. It just posted it on my page.
Fun.
Oh. So you see, this is an insanely simple automation, but I still have to do a couple things, which is I have to think of the idea. I have to drop that idea on in my little Airtable, but it at least go out and it'll create a post. And then once more, I come in and if I like it, I automatically post. So this is one way that automation can work and the things you can do in a very simple format. What Brad has done is injected this thing with horse steroids and created a much deeper thing where it takes me out of this because his system obviously understands who I am and the message I'm trying to get across, and then it blasts it out, right? So it takes away all that other manual aspect. Cool. So we've just shown you like the baby step version as well as the Tony Stark version.
Yeah, and this is only going to get better. To use the Tony Stark reference, AI is getting more capable, it's getting more
Oh yeah.
sophisticated, it's getting more intelligent, and it has so many advantages over human work. It's just crazy. So I love humans and I want them to be able to have human experiences and do human things. I don't want anybody to ever have to work just because they have to survive. I want
Bingo.
people to work on what they really truly care about, what lights them up, what gets them excited. And we're not there yet, but I think we can get there in our lifetime.
We're getting there. And that's the beautiful part about AI and automation is it really unshackles you to, and we all know this, I'm going to preach to the choir, but it unshackles you to get like all the little tasks that have to be done that stand in the way of creating. I remember the very first day I used ChatGPT, I'm like, this unlocks creative resistance. There's a lot of things I would do out there if I didn't have to, but I know there's so many ideas and we can all relate to this that we would all love to do, but we're all painfully aware of the steps needed. And we're like, it's so much work. I don't want to do that shit. But if we all have messages to share, let AI get that out there and then free us up to do the important stuff that we want. Karen Romaine asked pros and cons Zapier versus Make. So Make is cheaper, number one. Zapier has been around for a long time. Like I learned Zapier. I'm better with Zapier than I am with Make just because I've got more experience with it. I don't know. And Brad, I don't know if you have any instances on this. I think it's a personal preference thing for how it works. They're both really powerful. There's another tool out there called N8N.io.
Yep.
It's more complex than either one. That thing, it can do a lot more, but it gives me more headaches in setting things
Yeah,
up.
here's my thing on software and now on AI. Choose the one that sucks the least in the way you care about the most.
I love that.
That's it. Simple. It's like there's no perfect solution for anybody except for
Yeah,
what they care about. If you care about quick speed to implementation, Zapier is probably your play because they're focused on like talk to it and it'll build the workflow and there's 4 or 5 steps. If you're trying to build like a business, then you got to start thinking about Maker and N8N because they're focused more on I want to be the skeleton key for all the APIs and I want to be able to plug and play my own workflows as many as possible. And I want to be able to do that, like you said, for a reasonable cost so that my margins are intact because that could be a problem too with some models. And then finally, it's find the solution that works for you and it doesn't frustrate and consternate you past the learning stage to the point where it's going to make your life a living hell. And then I'll say one
exactly.
more thing on this because I know a lot of people are probably thinking it, especially if they've ever sold a company. What about when I go to sell my company and it's all built on other platforms? And what I would say to that is it's the same argument that people would make when factories didn't have their own infrastructure. It's like, what are you expected to provide to build a business use case? And where do you live? Is it at the app layer or at the utility layer? So a lot of these AI companies are going to be the same way that electricity companies and internet companies and cloud companies and all these different things provide the services they provide. You're not expected as a startup to provide those, and it doesn't make you any less valuable because you're building at the app level versus at the utility level. You're not expected to recreate the internet to create an internet startup, right? So as you go to exit these companies, which I think will be pretty exciting and it's wonderful, don't get held up by, oh, I got to do it custom and in my own sandbox because yada, yada, yada. I think it'll just slow you down.
Okay. What I like about what you're doing there as far as like creating enterprise value is there's a lot of apps right now that people are building because building apps is getting insanely easy for even non-technical founders to do. And a lot of them are building like wrappers on AI. Oh, look, I'm basically using OpenAI's API and I'm doing this and it's cool. And just like recently when ChatGPT came out with their image generation, like their upgraded image generation tool, there's a lot of apps. I see people on X talking about this. Like they just obsoleted my business because they had like interior design apps where you take a picture of your room and it'll redesign. You can do that on ChatGPT now for free. And so people are like, they just made me obsolete. What I like about what you're doing, Brad, in especially with the managed service aspect, is your moat is well, you've got a great workflow and you've got the brains behind the scene. So you're not even giving access to people to come in there and do the software. And then you've got people overlaying who are doing it, and those people can be trained and managed, et cetera. And because you're focusing on really the outcome, the tool, the brains behind it is agnostic. There could be a new tool that comes out which completely what do we call it, obsoletes the make automations you got, and it just made it 10 times easier, which would be
Yeah.
good for you because you can co-opt that. But the end user still just says, look, here's the result I want, here's the inputs,
That's
make it
it.
happen. And
Anybody
then
could
you've
do what
got
I'm
the people
doing.
doing all the stuff on the other side. So I think you've got a really nice
Yeah. I
moat done.
believe that anybody could do what I'm doing inefficiently and manually, and it would
Yes,
take just as much time as it would otherwise. I want
bingo.
to work with people who understand the value of time and understand the trade-off between, hey, I could pay this amount of money to get this amount of opportunity that I wouldn't get otherwise. So it's an unlock for the people who share my values. Hey, I want to be doing less in my business and achieving more. And this is a way to do that. If people want to go on their own, like I'll give them all the prompts. I don't care. Go do it. It's
Yeah,
fine.
if
Here's
you
all the
want to
tools. I'll give you the list of the
manually bang it out.
tools, the prompts, all that. I give that out to everybody. It's like whatever. The genius is in, like you said, the managed workflows and be able to get that reliably, consistently across all those platforms for all those members every single day.
Bingo. And one other thing, I'll bring this up because I think, Karen, you were talking about Zapier and Make. Here's the way I approach automation because I'm really good at this stuff, but it also drives me crazy. One of the reasons I'm good with it is I love to tinker, and I will waste a lot of time tinkering on stuff, and I will burn work $5 an hour work, right? And I'm in there because I just want to build it and I want to see what it is. I get that pride of craftsmanship. Look at the automation I built. But what I've had to force myself to do is to say, look, I'm going to learn Zapier and Make to know what it like to be good enough to where I know what it can do and I can build simple automations to go, oh, I got something simple I want to do. When this comes in, I want these 2 or 3 steps. But when it comes to like really complex automations that a lot of business critical processes are done, knowing what is possible is the first step. Then you go hire the experts, and you can hire experts on Upwork, on Fiverr, on TopTal, on these other things who are great at automation. Say, look, I know what I want. I know what's possible. Make it happen. I'll pay you $500, $5,000. It doesn't matter. Right. So that's how I look at automation. Know what it can do, play with it, connect 2 apps together and make it do something. It doesn't even have to have AI. It can be a dumb automation. But then once you start to see what's possible, look for people who can either do it for you, like Brad's offer is doing, or just look for people who can build it for you and you still have it internally as an automation for your team. Unless you're a hardcore tinker and you really love this stuff, and we're all, I believe, either business owners or executives in here, we have so much time. Who, not how. Like Brad said, it was one of my favorite mottos too, is I don't have to know everything if I can find the people who do. Right.
Right.
And these
I know
days,
everybody. Yeah.
yeah, and these days, finding the people who do is as simple as a Google search or a direct message away. So I think we all hopefully are leading in our businesses with that in mind. This has been great. We're coming up here to the end of the class. Do we have either any more questions for Brad? I'm happy to stay on a little bit extra long. If somebody came to this hoping to get something out and they didn't get to ask their question, I'm happy to answer. But for Brad 1 or Brad 2, let
Yeah,
us
I'm,
know if
I'm
you
happy to
got
stick
anything.
around for a few more minutes. I have a heart out in maybe 15.
Cool.
Yeah, we can.
Thanks, Ian. I appreciate that.
Thank you everybody for being here, and I'm grateful for all that you're doing to help the world get better and continue to improve and
Absolutely.
create better outcomes for everybody.
The folks here are going to be insulated from obsolescence, hopefully. That's what we're all doing. We're all
Yeah,
outrunning.
that's it.
We're all outrunning our friend who is also outrunning that bear, right? We're just trying to stay ahead of the curve.
Karen had a question about the social media, and not to toot my own horn here, but I think it's a good question. Is like the goal here, Karen, is to get you out of the weeds, right? So it's like we get your data, we get your logins, we build you, and we go post. Now, if you want to add to the stone soup and continue to improve it and add your philosophy and stories and just make it more you over time or evolve it over time, that's fine. But you don't have to do that. We can certainly get a great outcome without that, depending on your current body of work. If you have nothing and you don't have an offer and you're not selling, that's probably not the right fit. But if you have an offer and it is selling and you have some good content and client conversations that we can pull from, we can absolutely take it from there. And again, my goal is to make it so that our only communication with clients is high fives and congratulations.
I love that. And if anybody reaches out, just obviously mention, hey, saw you on Accelerator.
Yeah,
That way
totally. I'd
he
love to
knows who
track everything back to Brad. And
yeah, he just knows who to.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you saw this. Brad, man, thank you so much for being on the
My
call.
pleasure.
And
No, God, I hope everybody gets something really valuable out of this and just maybe sparks the curiosity of what's possible. Like, how far can you take this thing? Because there's so many.
And I'm sure that when you guys started to build this thing, it wasn't like you said, you're on version what, 10? It probably started something real simple. And then you
Yeah.
go, okay, that's not working. Let's build up another node. Let's do this. Let's create a correction node. Let's do this. That's where it gets
Add a
really
feature. Yeah.
But
100%. And that's anybody can do that. They can start with one thing and go from there and just build it and keep going. And once you get comfortable, like Brad said, start hiring the people that punch above your weight class. Because what they have in technical expertise, you have in vision and salesmanship and skills and being able to craft an offer and empathy at scale, which is just what marketing is. And like all those skills you bring to the pie, you're just giving them a framework within which to solve a problem that they would have solved. Maybe they might not have been able to solve on their own.
I've got an interesting question. I'd love to hear from you guys. Does anybody have right now a social media team or person that is doing manually a lot of this stuff, helping you guys build out your social media? I'm not talking about the ones who are just doing it themselves, but is anybody right now paying a person or a team at their business or an agency to do this for them at the moment? And if you are, what's the approximate spend you're spending on this per month? I don't have a team. I do all my stuff manually personally, but
That's a great question, Brad.
I have a podcast agent. It's about $1,700 a month.
Okay. Basically you do the podcast, they do all of the editing.
I show up and talk. They book all the guest slots.
Okay, cool.
I'm the guest.
Okay, great. Anybody else have like social media content creation? Okay, I'm hiring this person to help
We
me.
have like 2 people on our team that are regularly working, like a manager who creates and also a creator, and then they post and schedule to post. And we're probably spending about $2,000 a month, but that includes editing our podcast, posting our podcast, and we have 2 podcasts and it's weekly. So about $2,000 a month to create everything.
Yep.
Get
Okay,
it.
good. Cool. Glenn, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I also have a couple people on staff. My personal assistant does some stuff, and then I have one person that's full-time just creating YouTube content, videos, and posting, and she costs me a lot, but she's related to me, so I overpay.
That's great. That's great. Aaron, you still have your hand up. Did you have something else?
Yeah, I've got some social media team that puts out regular posts on Facebook and Insta and tries to collect data for me for like screen people who come in through that and try to kind of pre-qualify them for me. And mine's a dual way. I've incentivized them. If they get me a lead that actually turns into a sale or a listing, I'll give them a point or something on there just so it's motivate them to farm and to post and be as accurate and as efficient as possible, because then they're going to directly make more money if they do that. And then that way I can put my money into more just the ad spends, and they're motivated by results.
Yeah, I love that. And there's a lot of fear with employees, contractors, et cetera, of like being replaced by AI. We all get that fear, right? But what I like to do is say, if I had somebody on my team who was doing this, and then if I was to use somebody like Brad, I would be focused on how can I use stuff like this, automation and managed services, to free up the person I'm already paying, not to replace them, but to allow them to focus on the more important aspects, like maybe working with a team like Repurposefully or whatever, to help them refine the brand and the content that goes out, and then watch what's happening. And you take them more from the actor to being the director. Right. So they're able to elevate themselves up to more of an executive social media management role where they're making decisions and they're course correcting, but they're not having to do all the rote mechanical work. And I think that's the big opportunity for people with AI, as opposed to being replaced. They just get to up level what they're doing. I've got a presentation coming out next week for a big group of corporate HR. The title is like Superhuman Resources. And it's really showing HR departments how to create a culture of innovation at every level. But one of the big pieces I talk about this, and this is true for anybody of you guys who have employees, I call it the AI productivity paradox. So if you enable your team with AI tools to get more done quicker, and you reward them with more work to do quicker, let's just say somebody does 1 social media post a day and you give them these great tools. And now you're like, all right, great. Now I need you to do 10 posts a day. Or you hire a blog writer and they're normally doing 1 blog post a week. And now you're like, I need to do 10 blog posts a day. You're going to get employees who sandbag and don't do the work as quickly as they could, because if you're rewarding them with just more work, you're gonna get they don't want more work. They want better work. You want to elevate what they're doing. Let them do better things. Let them be more innovative, and take things off their plate so they can do other things, not just more. And this is a big piece of it, because I've seen it at companies. Like, we gave them these tools, but it's only maybe increased their speed by 2x. I thought it was going to get a 5 or 10x. Like chances are they're sandbagging this work because they're being rewarded just with more stuff that they hated doing in the first place. So think about if you have employees that you want to augment, how do I get them doing better stuff for me so that they don't have to do this stuff? And that's one of the things I constantly preach to my clients.
So I had a
So,
great mentor, Neil Strauss. He's an author, and he had
oh
a
yeah,
business years and years ago. He told me this. I thought it was great. He said every interview he has, he asks them where they're going to be in 5 years or where they want to be in 5 years. And if they say working for him, he doesn't hire them. He wants people to be on an arc that is above and beyond where he's going to land, and he wants to continue to make sure they're leveling up. I do this within my own organizations. Like we had a team of 12 people a couple of years ago that was just a lot of overhead, and I ended up letting go all but three. So now we have three part-time employees. We're more profitable. We're running a seven-figure business, and then we can pull in the events people we need when we have an event. We can pull in the developers and coders, and they all have to have their own separate sovereign businesses. So I'm not responsible for all these people's outcomes anymore. And everybody's in my organization that's still left understands and knows they need to keep up leveling what they're doing.
Yep.
If we're going to work together, they need to keep up leveling, and I'll support them to do that. But like I'm trying to get people and armies of VAs and agents underneath them so that they can continue to level up and continue to up their skills. I have a VA EA person from Serbia who's really great, who I got through Zion Kim, a mutual friend of ours. And 3 years in now, he's making a percentage of all our revenue. And he's got people working under him, and he's had other leadership positions before. He was a first mate on a cruise ship for years. But yeah, he's the kind of person that like, if you continue to set the higher standard, slowly but surely, he will continue to rise to it. And that's who you want. You want A players with batteries included, and you want them to grow beyond you. I'll give another quick example. Savannah Brewer, I met her when she was 17. She worked for me for 2 years, really sharp, was getting me booked with all these amazing podcasts. And when she left, she went to work for Cole Gordon and became their,
number two,
head
right, or
of
something?
head of recruitment or HR, whatever it was. And that was a $100 million opportunity for her. She made an enormous impact there. It's got to be important to you to have your people grow. Or everybody says, oh, what if I spend all this money and time and teach all these people and they leave me? What if you don't and they stay?
That's great. I love that. Awesome. Okay, that brings us past 10 minutes past the hour. Thanks again, Brad. Really appreciate you. And I knew bringing another Brad on here, it would just be
That
a
was the right move in retrospect.
gluten-free Brad sandwich. I love that.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Brad. Thank you, everybody. Have a beautiful day. Stay blessed.
All right.
Take care.
And feel free to reach out if you have any questions, either email or in the WhatsApp group. And we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks, guys.